in this edition of the Mike On Podcast.
Nigerians are talking about the conviction of Senator Ekweremadu, his wife and a medical doctor, by a UK court. Emotions are up hitting the roof. It is true that whatever perspective anyone shares on this matter is at best seen as belonging to the class of public opinion. The law has taken its course. The UK court convicted the Ekweremadus and a medical doctor of conspiracy to commit human trafficking. According to the court, this offense is seen as a form of modern slavery, as the United Kingdom prohibits payment or reward for kidney donation. This is a high-profile case involving a highly placed Nigerian. The elicited emotions and international interest in this is also from the fact that this is the first conviction in the modern slavery law of England and Wales. Some facts of the case are exploitation, lie, human trafficking, and manipulation. As conversations around this intensify within Nigeria and beyond, it is pertinent to discuss some lessons from these issues. What does our law say about organ harvesting? What are some grey areas in the UK angle on laws relating to kidney donation? Should they be payment or reward for it? What are some lessons we can learn from this issue? What are some positions people hold on this matter? These and more insights into this matter will be discussed on the Micom podcast today with Seun Okimbaloye.
The 60% of Us series.
Hello everyone. It was a false conviction for trafficking for the purposes of organ removal in England and Wales. So it is a landmark case. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Micon Podcast, a youth-centric show designed to get more young people involved in policy making agenda and issues of national interest. I'm Seun Okimbaloye. Away from our every weekday show, Politics Today and Sunday Politics, on Channels Television, this podcast adds to the efforts of giving more young Nigerians a viable platform to have a say on issues affecting them. And now to today's topic. There are several contexts in the former Deputy Senate President Ekwerimadu's organ harvesting case. You can sympathize with a desperate father and mother trying to help their sick daughter, or see an influential and powerful politician trying to exploit a vulnerable person. It's a matter of life and death, so all emotions are valid. Away from the emotions, the UK law is quite clear on how it wants everyone to see this, which is why the judge holds that the victim was targeted because he's young, poor, and vulnerable. So the crux of the case is outlined in this statement from the judge, and I quote, "People trafficking across international borders for the harvesting of human organs is a form of slavery." And of course, it is on this premise Senator Ekweremadu, his wife, and the doctor tagged the middleman are convicted and sentenced. Now back home, the fate of everyone involved in this case, including the 21-year-old victim, may have been different. So I ask the question, what are the lessons for everyone in this case? Are the medical and legal lines crossed in the UK blurred on the home front? Is there a hope of clemency or pardon for the Ekweremadus, or the case is done and dusted and beyond the control of everyone? To make a sense of it all, I have a set of powerful panel experts in their respective fields joining me on the Micon podcast tonight. And today, I will also be counting on the intervention of many of our viewers and listeners across all our social media platforms. But first, let me allow you to know the panelists tonight on the Macon podcast. I have a UK-trained lawyer, Anthony Hayilabo. Thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much, Seun, for having me.
And Dr. Martin Igbokwe is a urologist, transplant surgeon at the Zenith Hospital here in Abuja. Thank you so much, Doc, for coming tonight.
It's my pleasure to be here.
At some point, if he's joining us, we'll be bringing the president of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Henry Awunonu. I don't know if it's good to see you, Doc, yet again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Henry is not the president of the NMA. Henry is a health rights advocate.
Oh, thank you so much
I used to chair the advocacy committee of the NMA.
Yeah, maybe you're going to be the NMA president at some point. So, but just start.
Maybe that's prophecy for the future, but not yet.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us. Indeed, what a day it has been. I don't know whether to start from the legal angle or to start from the medical angle, because I'm just overwhelmed by every angle in which you look at it. There is a huge political angle to it because everybody in Nigeria, a lot of people, I should say, are also weighing on these. The government of Nigeria, the Senate and the House of Reps have officially communicated with the UK on this matter. But it does look to me that all the interventions are not working. The judge and the court has proceeded on the matter. Let's start from the legal angle. You are familiar with the UK and the legal system there. This is the very first case that have been convicted under that 2015 law. What kind of feeling do you think the legal environment in the UK will be having about this scenario, coming from a powerful Nigerian?
Well, Sean, thank you very much for this initiative. I've been on it before, but I always find the time to say thank you for anchoring it.
Thank you.
This is a very difficult scenario to paint, but one thing we should take into cognizance is the UK practices the law of deterrence. So when I was in university in the United Kingdom, I once bashed someone trying to reverse out of a car park, and the person got my details. So the next day, a policeman turned up in my house and asked me, can I have the insurance details? Can I have this? And I think my insurance was 1 day off or something. 6 months later, I got a court date for that insurance. You know, they're so particular about following their laws. And this is evident in what has happened with the former governor of Delta State, how they prosecuted that case to a logical conclusion. Now, one of the reasons they do this is for anybody watching, for anybody observing, to know that the UK is very strict on the provisions of their law, and they will enforce this no matter who you are, no matter how highly placed you are. They will come after you if you go against the laws. And they are particular, especially about laws on undue influence, taking advantage of people who, and we must realize that this whole case is built on anybody that, or the vulnerable of society. Reading the judgment or listening to the judge, he talked about the boy not being able to afford a ticket of £25 from Lagos to Abuja. He couldn't even afford it. So he was very vulnerable. And the particular law that he was convicted upon stems from the Organ Act to the 2015 Modern Slavery Act. So the UK policy or lawmakers had revisited slavery in a modern context and saying taking advantage, undue advantage of anyone who is vulnerable and lacks the power to resist you, either because you are inducing them. So you can't, there's nothing to say that.
So, Anthony, give us in a layman's language, what did Senator Ekweremadu do wrong trying to save his daughter?
Okay, so the first thing is the law prohibits you. It doesn't say no one can donate an organ to you.
Mm-hmm.
But what it says is that anyone donating an organ to you must do so of their own volition.
Of their own accord.
Without any undue influence.
Does it say that you cannot go out and solicit for organ?
In fact, the Organ Act of 1989, this is as far back as 1989, before the 2015 Modern Slavery Act, was very clear that even if you advertise that an organ is available, that advertisement itself could land you 10 years in prison, could even give you as much as the sentence, Ekweremadu. So they are very strict on it, that this the donation of organs must be of free volition, must not be induced. And even if there is any compensation, maybe compensation because the person has been away from work, the transportation of getting the person there, but it must be.
It must naturally flow.
Yes, must not.
So what I sense is that the young man that went with Senator Ekweremadu from Nigeria to the UK for that purpose, somehow something went wrong because they got a visa, because you cannot just fly, you have to have a visa.
Yes.
I'm very certain that they got a visa for him to get to the UK. What happened between when he got to the UK and when he was supposed to do the donor? What was he told? What really went wrong? Because I'm wondering, this is a desperate parent, right? And wanted to just save his daughter at all costs. So the question is that you have said in the eye of the UK law is that the boy did not do it on his own volition. That is the crux of the matter.
Consent. And if you know, the first thing that brought this to the limelight was the fact that the boy claimed he was underage, and we thought that was the problem.
But it's not.
But the most important thing was his consent. And going by his story, is that he didn't even realize that his organs were going to be harvested. And in the words, I mean, this is the quote that's put out in the press: "My body is not for sale."
Okay, so
that's according to the
Anthony,
boy.
that same law, does it apply in Nigeria?
Okay, so I've done a quick search of our laws just as soon as you gave me notice of this, and it's unfortunate. And these are the things that, and I don't even know, with the way the position of our National Assembly today on this matter, if they would even pause to think about it, that Nigerians may even be the highest number of people who are being violated. I mean, if you remember, and this was not logically concluded, but there was a girl that went missing in Akwa Ibom. If you remember very well, and this story broke on the internet and people tracked her, and it was said that there is an organ harvesting clique that is domiciled somewhere in Akwa Ibom, and people have gone missing. And I bet you, across the country, a lot of these ritualist murders you see, we cannot explain people's organs missing, are actually people who are harvesting people's organs illegally. So we have a lot of children on the streets. We have a lot of children that are vulnerable, are people that are subject to this. And I think beyond the call for clemency, beyond the call for this, I think we also have to introspect and see that are our people vulnerable? Is it because what value do we place on the lives of those who cannot speak up for themselves? Because the moral and the lesson we take out of this is that United Kingdom is particular about the vulnerable. It is particular about the people who cannot speak for themselves against, and to be honest, I think that the maximum sentence that was imposed on, or that was Senator Ekweremadu was convicted and sentenced based on the 10-year sentence, was to send a message that
deterrence.
No matter how powerful you are,
but he can appeal the case.
Well, of course, he has the right to
all
appeal.
Right. So just
and
give
of
me.
course, he also has the opportunity of the clemencies of all the respected people who have spoken for him. We do hope that the legal justice system in the United Kingdom, which is the appeal court, applies some sort of leniency in also considering that he's also a father who the emotional trauma of losing his daughter may have induced him to that panic, or to that to not even think about the consequences.
All right, just
because you have fathers that will literally hold up. I mean, I've seen a lot of movies of fathers holding up hospitals at gunpoint and insisting that their children
they treat their children.
They treat their children.
Right.
So you can't rule that out of. I mean, the case is not as vulgar as one who is doing it solely for profit.
Because I mean, I'm still coming to other aspects of the law, because this is criminal. It's treated as a criminal case. Yes. So in that sense, there are two legs to it: the mens rea and the actus. So we'll come to it, because the intent, if the Ekweremadus actually have the intent of doing all of
But
this.
you have to look at
the substance, what the prosecutors were saying.
And what the law is. You know, the drafters of that particular law were very clever. And they sought to remove inducement and consent. Once there's no consent, then it becomes a crime.
Just a moment. Let me...
And consent can be withdrawn even on the theater table. As that kid just wakes up and says, I'm no longer
interested.
That's the end of it.
Dr. Martin, you I mean, from the little we know about you, there is at least nothing less than 100 people that get on your surgery table every year for this kind of operation. First and foremost, let me get your general view as a urologist surgeon. And this is your specialty, trying to help people out and trying to save lives. When you heard about this matter, what came to your mind, the Ekweremadu matter?
The news broke, to every Nigerian, including myself. And it was that of mixed feelings because knowing fully what, being a parent is and how much you care for your child, how you don't want to see your child suffer from a chronic disease like chronic kidney disease and end-stage renal disease, having to undergo dialysis 2 to 3 times a week. As a parent, you want to help that child. You want to ensure that you see that child, nurture them to good health. But on the other side, as a professional, especially being a transplant surgeon, we know that there are laws, there are ethics, that guide the practice. And in a place like the United Kingdom, and of course anywhere in the world, if you are found to be wanting in any legal aspect or ethical aspect, then you have to face, the ambits of the law, just like we've seen it happen. So, it's mixed feelings. I
mean, is the Nigerian situation, you perform this surgery every day. Do we have these very, stringent, should I call it, procedure, both legal and ethical procedures to getting people helped in for this kind of condition?
So in the world of transplantation, we are guided by this is like the law that guides all transplant physicians, surgeons all around the world. In 2008, between April 30th and May 2nd, about 150 participants, stakeholders in transplantation worldwide, gathered in Istanbul, Turkey, to discuss about, some of these issues, most especially organ trafficking and transplant tourism. The main aim of this is to ensure that the poor, the illiterate, the vulnerable, political and economic refugees, prisoners, etc., are protected. That people do not come from areas of, good economy and wealth to exploit these poor and underprivileged people in the society. The whole aim of this articulation is to protect the vulnerable. And this is exactly, what we've seen in this case. So in Nigeria here, it's no different. When people present to the hospital for organ transplantation, like kidney transplantation, they have to go through various steps and procedures. This will include evaluating, the medical aspect of the recipient and the donor, make sure that they are healthy. This is involves psychological evaluation to make sure that they are in their right frame of mind, especially the donor. Make sure it's not someone who has any form of psychological problems or use of substances that may affect them. People who have been to psychiatric homes in the past or on antipsychotics. You also want to ensure that they are not under any form of inducements or any form of coercion or any form of pressure. So to do this as well, we have legal teams, both in the hospital and in the court, where these patients must go, both the donors and the recipients. So there is a process here in Nigeria. Oh, certainly.
What is the process?
Just like I mentioned, the hospital has a legal unit that sees these patients, and then they go to the court as well.
What do they get in court?
Sir?
What do they go to get?
They go to the court because in Nigeria, we ensure that every recipient comes to the hospital with a living related donor. The donor must be related either a brother, sister, cousin, relative, whatever.
So you can't just walk into the hospital and say, I want to donate my kidney. I want to donate an organ.
So that is true altruism. I haven't gotten there yet. So we ensure that the first line is a living related donor. This is a little bit easier in our part of the world than the West, because we have lots of big homes. We have some polygamous homes. We have culturally we have lots of families, cousins. So there are always people to come through. So in the absence, in few instances, maybe there may not be relatives, or relatives may have died from some diseases, just like we saw in this case. Sometimes these things are familiar. So you may discover that even the close family members may also suffer from similar diseases, or disease which can proceed to causing kidney disease like hypertension, diabetes, in which case they cannot donate their kidneys. There are contraindications to donation. So in these instances, there is what we call true altruism, true altruistic donors. These are people who, out of their free volition and love for humanity, want to help someone with an organ. In this case, they can come to donate, to whoever they want to donate to, not looking for any form of compensation or payment and things like this. All right. So these are in this way you increase, the number of people who, because donors are actually one of the most difficult things to get when it comes to organ transplantation. So when you are able to provide, when a patient is able to come with a donor, either a true altruistic donor or a living donor, this solves most of the problem.
So, but do people take, for example, if you get a donor, do people willingly want to pay for those organs?
Oh, of course, if you allow such, but we know that even in the Nigerian context, the Nigerian Constitution has a National Health Act, and the National Health Act in the 2011, modification of the National Health Act, sections 48 to 53 or thereabout, says a lot about organ transplantation, organ donation, and it's clearly written there that it's illegal for an individual to sell his or her organs to anybody. It's stated clearly on the issue of consent. There must be consent from a donor to be able to give their organs to somebody else. It also even mentioned about deceased donors, even something that doesn't happen in Nigeria, showing that we had the foresight that the country will eventually get to a situation whereby deceased donors will start being used, which we don't do yet, which is something that this case is going to bring on board, because we need to improve our organ transplantation program in Nigeria.
So when as a donor A goes to the hospital to help a patient B, what kind of procedure legally? Do they have to sign any papers at the hospital, with your hospital, for example, before they now go? Because I know your hospital is a special case because you're a private hospital, which may be more careful than maybe public hospital. I might be wrong, but is that the case?
Oh, certainly. There are documents, legal documents, surgical documents, and of course, the legal documents will be the hospital legal documents and the court. The court. They always have to go to the court.
So money exchanging hands for organ is illegal in Nigeria.
Completely illegal. Completely illegal.
So however, just this is one other issue that was brought up, that £7,000 was promised, not for the organ to the young man, but that he was going to get a good life. The prosecutors in this case were the ones saying it, that the victim was promised to work and a reward of £7,000, but that he was unaware that he was expected to provide a kidney in return. Having said that, how often do you do a transplantation in a week, for example?
Okay, in a month, averagely we have 10 to 15 cases.
So it's very rampant.
Oh, certainly.
So kidney disease is a commonplace in Nigeria.
Chronic kidney disease is more common than you think in Nigeria. In 2022, it was said that out of every million Nigerians, you have about 100 with some form of kidney disease. And it said that 20 million Nigerians, as we stay, have one form of kidney disease or the other. It means that they are on the spectrum from stage 1 to stage 5 of chronic kidney disease. So the president of the Transplant Association of Nigeria, Professor Arogundade, said earlier in the year when we attended the conference, he said chronic kidney disease is a pandemic, as it may, in Nigeria. This is because we are aware that in blacks, chronic kidney disease is a lot more common than in whites. This is because we have some mutations in our genes, like the apolipoprotein 1 gene, which was a gene that we had because to protect us from trypanosomiasis, which is sleeping sickness, which we no longer have. But this gene also has an effect on the kidney and can lead to chronic kidney disease. This is in addition to things like hypertension, which is much more common in blacks. He said that close to 30% of adult Nigerians have hypertension. This is the commonest cause of chronic kidney disease and kidney failure. Diabetes is also on the rise. About 10% of Nigerians have diabetes mellitus.
This is something that we need to be careful about.
Certainly.
Is there something that triggers it that we need to be careful about? Diet, way of life?
Exactly. So we are already born with a higher genetic predisposition
Even
to have
with
this
your
disease.
skin
Yes,
color.
just being black.
Just being black, you come with that.
And then you now add the other things like our diet. Diet is now more westernized. People are eating burgers. We, cook all sorts of things. We have departed from what our forefathers used to eat, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, less of the processed foods and drinks. Then the lifestyle. We sit down on chairs in the offices for many hours, sedentary lifestyle. While the forefathers used to climb trees and go to the farm and be fit. So to obtain that kind of fitness, now you have to pay, you have to go to the gym, you have to be deliberate about it. So the diet and the lifestyle have contributed significantly. You see a lot of the percentage of obese people now is a lot more than it used to be. So these are some of the risk factors for kidney disease. So
again, we might be here all day looking at the legal, the medical angle, but is this a matter that can be treated in Nigeria easily? The case of the young Ekweremadu.
Well, I can say that, yes, kidney transplantation is routinely being performed in Nigeria. An average of about 200 kidney transplant surgeries happen in Nigeria every year. So, but the truth is that these numbers do not match the burden of the disease. We have a lot more patients who have this disease. The truth is that many of these patients can't afford, most of the treatment that we need.
Well, I'm wondering, Doc, why is it there will be a reason why the Ekweremadus chose to go to the UK to do it? And there are obvious things that people sometimes don't even trust our public health system, our health system generally in Nigeria. Do people think that it is unsafe to perform a transplantation in Nigeria?
Well, I may not be able to answer that, but what I would say is that the developed countries are called developed for a reason. This is because they have far more advanced healthcare facilities. They have more higher technologies. They have better experts in many things. So I will never blame anyone for thinking that going to the West to obtain care for cancer, for kidney failure, for anything is going to be superior than what they will obtain in an underdeveloped. That's logical enough.
Right. Before I bring in Dr. Henry, in this whole scenario, Dr. Martin, what did you notice that was wrong in the process from the moment they left Nigeria to the moment that case escalated?
Well, because all the news I got is from the media, and it's always safe to say you can never really trust what you've heard from the media. It's difficult for me to really comment on the intricacies. All I can say is that from the court ruling, which is obviously the end point, we can see that there was definitely some form of either miscommunication between the family and the proposed donor, because it seemed like there was no clear consent, and it seemed like there was, the individual appeared to be vulnerable and not very sure of what was going to be done to him. So, I would think that communication is so key between, the parties involved, and everybody should have a very clear understanding in these kind of situations.
Dr. Henry, please come into the conversation, if you may, please. What do you, this has far-reaching implication on several things in our country: legal system, political system, and medical system. Speak to the optics of this scenario on our health system.
Thank you, Sean, for having me. I also welcome the other panelists. Let me quickly remind us that Nigeria is not bereft of laws concerning tissue transplant, tissue organ transplant. The commonest tissue transplant done in Nigeria is blood transfusion. That is the commonest done in Nigeria. But like Dr. Ibokwe cited, there is a National Health Act of 2014. National Health Act of 2014, Part 6 of that law speaks to control of the use of blood products, tissue, and gametes in humans. Specifically in Section 51, 52, 53, 54, up to 56, make ample provision for regulation of organ transplantation in Nigeria. Like the first speaker pointed out, there should not be trading in organs. Section 53 sub 1b says it's an offense to sell or trade in tissue, blood products, organs, except for reasonable payments made in appropriate health establishment for the procurement of tissues, blood, or blood products. I have to explain that because it's becoming a problem. People come to hospitals to donate blood, let's say for their wives in labor or for their sick relatives. They think they're paying for the blood. The money charged by the laboratory is not for the blood. It's to screen that blood of several of the blood-borne pathogens. So that's what people are paying for. Nobody can pay for any tissue or organ in Nigeria. Now, specifically in this case, we are pained. I'll answer your question, but let me go around it a bit. We are pained. Why we are pained is what is related to what Dr. Ibokwe muted. That when you hear of developed countries or underdeveloped countries, there are certain factors that make a nation develop and the other underdeveloped. At this point in our national life, we expect that when we see that Nigerians are driving 2023, even 2024 Prado Jeep, sorry to mention that brand name, yet in 2023, we expect to see also commensurate development in certain critical sectors of our national life, for instance, healthcare. That is not being matched. In the year 1999, the outgoing military administration commissioned one hospital in this town, one tertiary hospital, and said that hospital was to be the flagship of medical institutions, not only in Nigeria, but in the West African sub-region. Today, that dream was never realized, and there is nothing suggesting that our country wants to go that way. So, about organ transplantation, there are laws, but what has happened has brought out some lacunae. The judge, in his judgment, said, one, there wasn't so much, he wasn't so much convinced that the donor to be, gave informed consent. There is a difference between informed.
Okay, there seems to be a frozen network. Yeah. So.
I'm sorry. I'm back.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
What our law has provided, as it is in the National Health Act, It's just generics, just like skeleton of it. We are yet to flesh in it. For instance, they just specifically mentioned that nobody told that boy that he will need a lifelong care post-donation. That is important. Today in our hospitals, even in the centers where tissue or organ transplantation is done, I don't know whether they get to these finest details. I don't know whether they get to these finest details of explaining to would-be donors, you will need lifelong care. If this type of disease runs in your family, you are not qualified to donate. If you are in this type of habit and so, you are not qualified to donate. So that is where we are. So if we have not, I don't think we have gotten to lessons learned. When we go to that point, then we talk to ourselves on that, look, it is no longer a joke. The eyes of the whole world are Nigeria now. One true act of sympathy our legislators, our serving legislators can do before they exit May 29 is to revisit the issue of, one, making our hospitals work, two, strengthening the laws on organ tissue transplantation, three, mass education, not only about tissue transplantation, given from what Dr. Ibokwe has said. You have not asked him the average cost of one transplantation. You will know that many people cannot afford it. But most of the issues causing kidney failure, for instance, in Nigeria, are likely more than 90% preventable. So that is where we are.
So, okay, so since you raised that matter, let me ask you, I don't want to forget, how much does it cost to do a transplantation?
Averagely, it will cost about 12 million naira to have a kidney transplantation.
So, without the need for dialysis, after the surgery, the person will be fine.
Oh, of course, most of the time there are no issues. After the surgery, we don't expect the patient to require dialysis anymore. Yes.
So it's the same thing with that cost will fix the young Ekweremadu's case.
Certainly.
Okay. So let me bring you back in. Dr. Henry, there's this thing that you did not answer. If there is one lesson to take away from what happened for our health sector, what would that lesson be?
Please let me get you again.
If there is, I mean, you are a medical doctor, yourself and Dr. Ibokwe here. As soon as you're watching and see what is happening, there is a huge lesson to be taken away, to be learned from what has happened, even to our lawyers in Nigeria, even to the government, even to everybody, to every parent. There's a lesson, a big lesson for everyone to learn. So for you as a medical practitioner in Nigeria, if there is one lesson to be taken away or learned from this one, what would that be?
Yes, one big lesson we need to learn. One big lesson we need to learn is to wake up that missing pillar of health system strengthening. That missing pillar is called voices. Voices for accountability. It is missing. It is the voices of the people that will wake our leaders up in providing quality healthcare for our people. I've not just said healthcare, but I qualified it with quality healthcare.
Okay.
Senator Ekweremadu, we must mention his name, was Deputy Senate President for 12 years. Today, the University of Nigeria, Saga, recruited before now at the Transplant Center of Nigeria because they have been involved in open heart surgeries. Open heart surgeries. Any center, Dr. Ibokwe is here, he can verify that any center that can operate on the heart can also do transplant surgery because it's all about reattaching blood vessels primarily. I don't know why University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital in Enugu, cannot offer quality transplant surgery. There are private hospitals everywhere, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, in Umuahia, almost everywhere now, offering transplant surgery, even in Ilorin. During the days of COVID, we heard of a state governor. Yes, I must say it. A state governor had similar needs, and it was done here. And today he's everywhere. I don't know why Senator Ekweremadu. Forgive me, we are supposed to be sympathetic to him. On my social media handles, I have cried and wept in sympathy with that family. But I don't know why our leaders cannot trust our health facilities and our health experts here to deliver that same.
Can you blame people if you have the money? Can you blame anyone who does not trust the health system? If you have your way and you have your money, can you blame anyone who sent his or her children or her child outside of the country for foreign education?
There's no law contravening that.
Yeah.
But it's a huge moral burden. Why am I saying that? Imagine if the biggest eatery in town, their manager says, "Oh, we are cooking. Oh, everybody comes here to eat, but I don't eat that food." He doesn't taste that food, but he cooks and gives to everybody. So on our leaders, there is huge moral burden. You are, of course, the leader of the people. You are shepherd of the flock. What pains others, pertain to other people, worries them, should also worry you. You should make that meal and taste from it, eat from there. Attend our hospitals. That is why we are happy that somehow social media, we don't know whether it's fake, that the president-elect has flown in his doctors from somewhere to come and attend to him. And we said, hallelujah. Because in the process of attending to him, there will be some new skills that our physicians, our doctors here can pick. In the process of attending to him, the particular equipment or technology or whatever can be of use to other people that need it.
All right, doctor.
Technology will be transferred.
Yeah. So let me bring back Anthony. You are the lawyer here, and there are government-to-government communication going on right now. The two chambers of the National Assembly are already reaching out to the UK authorities to say, look, please pardon. Clemency is what the Nigerian top officials are saying about Ekwerimadu's. Give us an idea of how this will go. How easy could it be if you're convicted on a foreign soil? And I assume that pending the time they will go and appeal on this matter, they will be serving a jail term in the UK prison. How easy is clemency, especially when it's not happening on your soil and the offense was not committed on your soil, it was committed in the UK? What does the legal system there say?
Well, it also depends on if it's a strict liability offense, and one of those offenses that people are particular about. You are talking about modern day slavery here. You are talking about an offense that is very sensitive to the UK government. I mean, if someone like former President Olusegun Obasanjo has written the clerk of the legal system in the UK asking for clemency, you have the national, like you said, the National Assembly. But I think we may have gone about it the wrong way. The UK system is one that you approach more with a little bit of sensibility. I mean, they want to see that you are taking efforts to make sure that this doesn't even happen in your country as well. The doctors have, the last health advocate has talked about our health system here. What have we done to improve our health system? What have we done to tighten our legal framework to prevent this sort of thing? So it's going to be really a big challenge for them to have a reduced judgment has been passed. Sentencing has happened. Where they were going to get clemency would have come before sentencing. I don't think as a policy, the UK government, number 10 Downing Street, which deals with diplomatic engagements, can override a court. I think
There's
the only way...
separation of powers.
Yes, separation of power. The only way this happens is if the UK government, through the office of the prosecutor, maybe on appeal, does not file motions to counter the appeal, or maybe, seeks a way of leniency and says, he's been sentenced to 10 years, we'll reduce it to 5 years, or we'll allow him come and serve out the rest of his sentence in Nigeria, knowing that he may be afforded a lot more cordiality while in the Nigerian
or maybe
prison.
given a state pardon.
State
Possibly.
pardon will have to come from the newly crowned king.
No,
because-
I'm saying that if they allow him to serve the sentence there, so the jurisdiction has been transferred.
Yes.
So that means that it behoves on the National Council of State,
Yes.
to sit on advisory
Yes.
of clemency to be presented to the president.
Well, that's a bit tricky.
Mm.
When you have that is where you have the crime committed
On Nigerian soil.
on yes,
Under
and
the Nigerian law.
or not Nigerian law, or in both jurisdictions. So you have someone who has probably where this case has happened is where someone has probably stolen money from Nigeria and taken it to the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
The offense here, the main substance of the offense was all committed within the jurisdiction of the United Kingdom. That's why his trial was subject to UK laws, subject to their legal framework. Very little impute was, so if you have those kind of mixed trials, what you have is you have the EFCC going to the UK to support, giving them supporting documents. So the conviction is usually...
Anthony, Senator Ekweremadu, 60 years.
Yes.
Sentenced to 10 years. His wife, 56 years.
Yes.
The medical doctor, Dr. Obeta, in that matter, is 50 years. Now, Dr. Martin, you look at this whole issue.
Yes.
It's the very first of this case.
It's a novel.
So it's a novel one. So, and I see with the UK that we know this kind of matter, and that was why I was asking you how difficult it could be for them to look away. My prayer is that the Ekweremadus are being looked at in a rather, sympathetic manner by the government of the UK. That's my prayer. But in this case, we're looking at the possibilities. It's a novel case, one. Two, you look at their ages and the sentence.
Have you?
What comes to your mind?
When you see the descriptions in the British press, they say powerful
Absolutely.
politician.
That's how the BBC,
So-
that's how
so-
the Daily Mirror, the
so-
Daily Mail, that's how they described it.
So you see the British psyche.
And the prosecutor, Anthony, see the way the prosecutor described it. The prosecutor said the plot is a horrific plot to exploit a vulnerable victim. That's how the prosecutor said it.
So
That's the government lawyer. I mean, the prosecutor from the government.
So you have to
in
be
the UK.
you have to be conscious that this is all happening when you have all the Black Lives Matter. There's sensitivity to slavery, modern day slavery. There's the perception, and you see, my biggest worry about this is the perception crisis we as Nigerians generally will suffer from this action. So you're traveling now, maybe not even on a health, maybe you're traveling with someone. They begin to look at you as a suspect because it has branded us as people who are high and mighty traffic in organs and do it with such disdain for the underprivileged. So, and that's why the reporting, I said, the reporting also will determine this question you're asking. It's showing the sentiments of the British people. They are disgusted by it. They are not particularly happy. So their government will also be, don't forget that these guys, there's a political angle to it. They are politicians. So the conservatives who may be in power today will not want to look weak.
And there's election going on.
So
there's a whole lot of perspective. And the UK, and I mean, you see what happened. The Prime Minister did a party.
Yes.
And
former Prime
Minister
during
did
COVID.
a party during COVID. There was nothing the British press did not do to him.
They went after him.
Yeah.
They were consistent.
I mean, you had a former Prime Minister say something bad. He had a blooper, say something bad about a person. He went to apologize. He went on to say something again. And these are circumstances that led him being out of office.
Outside from government.
It is a government, or it is a place where they are sensitive to moral issues.
No, public perception. They're very sensitive.
The optics.
Yes, they're very sensitive because it is political. It is political. So for instance, you have a conservative government. Anything they do now to influence the already sentenced Deputy Senate President from Nigeria will be seen as even agreeing to allow that sort of thing slide. And nobody in the UK, again, you have to look at how the media is reporting it. The media is reporting it and setting up whoever is going to.
The emotions is not in the UK. The emotion is on this side of the divide.
No, we are the ones who don't understand how the UK is big on consent. So it's the same thing with rape. It's the same thing. So they're very, very big on people agreeing to it, especially where they were the connoisseurs of slavery. So they are very careful not to fall back into that and to prevent it. The main conviction is from the 2015 Modern Slavery Act, where these actions, where people's will, the consent, the oppressive nature, the use of a powerful politician from Nigeria. That word, use of powerful politician, describes the sentiment, describes the reason for the maximum sentence being imposed. I'm even thinking that they literally let the daughter slide because of her health condition.
So that's one angle. Dr. Martin, the young Ekweremadu, Sonia, that's her name. She's just 25 years of age. That is a lady that was supposed to get the organ if everything went well. In fact, if everything went well, we would not be here talking about it. No. We wouldn't even know that so many of these kind of situations happen across the globe with powerful people and people highly placed, but we do not know what happened. But this went awry, and that's why we are talking about it today. But that young lady is there, and there must be some level of care and attention on her health, because if it was not deteriorating, they wouldn't be going to have a surgery for her. As a doctor who specializes and put people on the table for this kind of condition, what advice will you be telling her? I mean, that condition she is now, she's terribly, traumatized. I can imagine.
All right. Yeah. So for patients who have chronic kidney disease or end-stage renal disease, there are modalities of treatment or management. What we offer them is what we call renal replacement therapy. So renal replacement therapy are basically, three types of management protocols. One is dialysis, which can be peritoneal dialysis or hemodialysis. Dialysis just means that it's a kind of modality that tries to do the job of the kidney. What is most common in Nigeria is what we call hemodialysis. This is where the patient is connected to a machine that takes the blood of the patient in, takes out all the metabolic wastes, exactly what the kidney does, and then puts the blood back into the person's body.
And this, I understand, is a very painful thing.
No, it's not painful. It's not painful at all. It's not painful. It's done through a central line. A big catheter is passed through one of the big veins, either on the neck or on the femoral area. They go. The problem with this is that you have to be on the machine for about 4 hours, and during the procedure, sometimes there may be fluctuation in blood pressure, but most of the time it can go smoothly. But you may need to do this
how frequently?
3 times weekly.
For someone who is at that stage that she is on,
you need at least 2 to 3 times weekly.
Weekly.
Yes. So it kind of ties this patient down to close to the hospital all the time. It's difficult for them to function, to do their jobs as they should do.
But then how expensive is it too?
In Nigeria, the cost of a dialysis session is an average of about 25 to 30,000 per session, depending on the hospital. So let's say about 30,000 naira 3 times a week. So you can see that the average person may not be able to sustain that for a very long time. So this is why when you consider worldwide, kidney transplantation is still the gold standard treatment for end-stage renal disease, because it's a one-off treatment, and it offers the patient the closest recovery back to what they used to be before they had the transplant. They're able to go about their jobs. They're able to, just take a couple of pills a day to ensure that your body doesn't reject the kidney, and you are almost like a normal person. Nobody actually knows that you have this condition. Of course, you have to continue to have your checkups. And then for most people who come to us, when we're doing the counseling, it's also important to let them know as well that, a transplanted kidney doesn't last forever. The lifespan of a transplanted kidney worldwide is an average of about 10 to 15 years.
Really?
So, yes. Because I notice most patients are not aware of this when they come. So, but you always have to let them know that transplanted kidneys do not last forever. The oldest surviving transplant patient 2 years ago celebrated 50 years after transplantation. So, but this is not, this is not normal. Averagely 10 to 15 years, then the kidney undergoes some degenerative changes and goes into what we call chronic allograph nephropathy, in which if the patient is still alive, will require another transplantation.
So getting a kidney passed on to you does not guarantee you a life forever.
When you are healthy like you and I, your life is not guaranteed forever anyways. So, but it gives the best quality of life to this patient. 10 to 15 years is quite some time for people to do lots of things in their lives, but of course we are not God. So it's what I tell the patients, the kidney can be there for a lot longer than that. It all has to do with good preparation before the surgery, ensure that donor and recipient are well matched, a good and excellent surgery being done, and most importantly, a good follow-up care. We've seen patients who stop taking their drugs after a couple of months because they didn't have the money to sustain.
So after the transplantation, you still have to be medicating?
For as long as you have that kidney in you, you have to continue to take the drugs, which we call anti-rejection drugs, for life. You have to take them all the time to ensure that your body does not recognize the new kidney as a foreign body and start to fight it. Of course, not just taking the drugs. While taking the drugs, you have to go to the hospital as and when due. You have your blood checks. You also have to have those drugs checked in your bloodstream to ensure that they are maintained at the therapeutic levels, not too high or too low, as the case may be. These are the things that you need to do, of course, and then your lifestyle must be well designed to ensure that you don't contract any infections, cancers and things like that can come in patients who are on this kind of anti-rejection drugs, and then you will do well.
Because we had cases of some popular people who had transplant, and after some time, not up to 4-5 years, they died. And you look at the pain they went through in the first place before they even got an organ. They were people were donating money for them to get it done. And after all said and so some people will say, okay, why don't you just keep doing? Because even getting the organ doesn't give you a guarantee of life for life. Maybe dialysis, it's good to go to the hospital 4 hours a day. Maybe you can manage it. Does it give you a longer guarantee, a longer life, more than the organ that is in, more than the transplantation?
No, not at all. There's a reason why kidney transplantation is a gold standard treatment for patients with chronic kidney disease. This is because, when you compare, let's start with the cost. the cost of dialysis is going to be far more than that of transplantation. When you add, in the study that we did in my center, we realized that undergoing dialysis for 2 years or more, you already have surpassed the cost of having a kidney transplant. And then let's talk about the quality of life after transplantation. When you see patients who have undergone transplant, it's really difficult for you to actually tell that they had any condition, because they just look like any regular person. So their energy levels are good, blood levels are normal, just like any normal person. They go about your back almost similar to what you used to do. So the quality of life, they can go back to their jobs, even do them better than patients who are on hemodialysis, who, are probably, a lot not doing so what may require blood transfusion, require, several types of drugs to maintain them, and still they have to be close to the hospital, because they can't even travel very far, or when you have to travel, you have to be sure that where you're going to has an equally good dialysis unit where you can go to get plugged in to have your dialysis. And not to mention that dialysis itself, because you're connected to a machine, sometimes you can have some infections transmitted through the machine, if not properly done, some pyrogens and things like that. So then you have to wear a central line all the time, and access through where your blood can be connected. So there's a reason why experts have looked at these things and have found transplantation to be certainly better, more durable and superior in quality of care compared to dialysis.
I'm going to get a few people to speak on to get. I want to allow people to probably ask questions, because this is an avenue for us all. Because there was a day we were talking about malaria, and when I said it on TV that malaria is the biggest killer in Nigeria, some people said, "Well, that cannot be true," but it is the truth. It might be as common. And it might be as bad as you treating malaria now, and you get bitten by a mosquito again, malaria gets back into your bloodstream. And this situation that you're talking about, you talk about lifestyle, those who drink, those who smoke. What kind of lifestyle do you think is commonplace that people need to really, really watch, that you think triggers this, messes up organs?
Okay, so I'll start from the top. So one is our diet. We need to go back to the good, healthy diets, as I mentioned, rich in fruits and vegetables, cut down carbohydrates, cut down animal proteins, fatty food, processed
Carbohydrate
foods.
like rice? How easy is that?
No,
Doc?
if
Is there any other thing that we eat, Anthony?
Yam.
Is there a date? Yam? These are things that pounded yam.
It's not
amala.
about eating
These are
pounded yam.
carbohydrates that we
We're not gonna
love.
eat those things, but we're talking about moderation, the quantity. So
Okay.
when you're gonna eat rice, rather than the big bowl of rice you eat, you're gonna have just about 2 servings of rice, and then you have some vegetables, some vegetables by the side, some fruits.
At what age should we be watching this?
From day one, man. You don't have to wait till you're...
No, because as long as you're celebrating a certain age, they start warning you. Oh, you are 40 now, you should be doing this. You are 35 now, you should be... they start warning you. You are going to be 45, you should be watching that.
The healthy lifestyle, you should start when you're young, actually. Because many of the diseases that cause these damages, they come over time. They don't come because you just ate a bowl of eba today, obviously. So
Okay, let me ask you straight up. You've talked about carbohydrate and all what have you. Those who drink vodka, alcohol, how vulnerable are they?
Of course. So we're talking about food. We didn't
And
mention
the
water.
reason,
Water.
when there's a popular thing out there, those who smoke, you say, oh, I've been smoking since before you were born, and I'm not dead. And I know alcohol is a commonplace. That's why. I'm like, there are a lot of people here that I know that will be thinking, okay, what am I doing that is wrong that I need to correct?
So alcohol is not good. We talk about, as I mentioned, everything should be in moderation. So alcohol, we have a healthy dose of alcohol, which if you take beyond, can cause risks. In adult males, they will say more than 60 grams of alcohol, a day. In females, we say more than 40 grams of alcohol. So, but what I would say is that, occasional glass of wine will not do any harm. But where we have problems are people who are chronic consumers of this. You know, you have to take vodka before you sleep every night. You have to take a couple of, some of these alcoholic herbal beverages or beer before every day. Some people are actually addicted to these things. What do? They actually elicit, the liver, because the liver is the detoxifier in the body. So alcohol actually does a lot more damage to the liver, than the kidneys. But over a long period of time, these things are all interwoven. So alcohol ingestion also has a role to play. Cigarette smoking is established as a major risk factor for kidney disease, among other things, and cancers. Cigarette smoking, cigarette contains nicotine, which causes some damages to the intima.
What about shisha?
Shisha, is even more dangerous than cigarettes, because shisha contains higher levels, of some of these, terrible agents. So shisha smoke.
I hope there are some of our friends here who are listening tonight.
Oh no, they have to listen, because whether they smoke, is they use various types of scents, or make it strawberry or vanilla. That doesn't change the damages that it does.
You're just trying to embellish.
They just embellish it, and
danger.
It actually contains a higher dose, of the nicotine and other things.
But they say that those who even stay beside those who take shisha or cigarette, they inhale more.
Passive smokers, yes. The passive smoker is even at a higher risk, because the smoke has gone into this person and they exhale, a more toxic form. That's what they exhale is what you inhale. So if you have friends who smoke around you all the time, you say, "Oh, I don't smoke," you're equally at risk of developing some of these conditions, especially cancers of the airway, all sorts of cancers, kidney disease, etc. So these are.
If there's one thing that is not as obvious as the things that you have mentioned now, that is even more dangerous to our health and to the kidney, what would it be?
The things that we haven't mentioned so far.
That we have mentioned, because like I said, malaria is the biggest killer.
Yes,
but
so we've talked about hypertension and diabetes, obesity.
Yeah.
Yes. Then something else that we should talk about is health-seeking behavior, because I discovered, in our people, it's not common terms for young people of 20, 30 years old to decide to have to go to the hospital once every year to have a checkup. I think this habit we've inculcated because we ab initio growing up, we didn't have fantastic health insurance where all our family members were covered, and your dad takes everybody to the hospital at a particular time of the year to have their checkups free of charge. I think we always associate the hospitals to sick people, death, paying money out of pocket, and things like that. So I think a poor health-seeking behavior is also something else that is, very partisan to what we are experiencing. Because what I'm saying is that many of these things we speak about, when picked early, are not as fatal. For instance, you walk into a hospital and we discover that your blood pressure is high, maybe 150/90, and then you go again to see the physician the next day and it's still high, and he puts you on a pill to control that blood pressure. You can be on the pill, for 50 years, and you'd have no, sequelae that comes from chronic high blood pressure. Unlike someone who just suddenly falls on the football field at the age of 45 and dies, from a stroke or dies from a heart attack, and they say, oh, the village people have done it again. Oh, it's the stepmom, and he has been hypertensive for 20 years, but he never knew because he never went to the hospital. Because some of these diseases are actually silent killers. They don't show any symptoms until they have caused all the damage. So I think a health-seeking behavior, I think if that's something we are going to preach, no matter your age, ensure that you have a checkup at least once a year. When you go to a good hospital, they know exactly what to check to say, oh, okay, you're good. Your blood levels are fine. Your kidney function is good. Your liver is good. Your scans look okay. Let's see you again next year. And that goes a long way in curbing so many things, including meeting cancers early. We've seen patients who just walked into the hospital because they were pregnant, and while they were being scanned for the pregnancy, we discovered they had a tumor in the kidney. And this is how this patient is still alive till now, because we pick it at a small size. When we operate on that tumor, patient is cured. Unlike someone who comes when they are passing blood in urine, have a big mass in their tummy, at which time it's spread all over the body, and whatever you do, they don't have more than 6 months to live. So I think this is an opportunity to encourage our people to improve on health-seeking behavior.
Oh, goodness gracious. I didn't want to go into that area because I know, but it's good because now the there's something I wanted to eat tonight, but I need to change my mind because of what you've just said. Let me bring in a few people on Twitter Spaces. Let's get their views, and maybe a few questions will be just good for the conversation. I see Duro Timi Daudu of Lagos is always with us here on the Micon podcast, and I see Adelanwa Yakubu Shoyebo and Tolulokpe Ogunjimi. I don't know which of them is ready to, because the mic is on. I don't know if you're ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, Adelanwa.
For
All right, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
So everything is my approach, so you understand. I want to talk about things that we are talking about today. One, the reason why people like Ekweremadu have refused to have their medicals in Nigeria, it's not because there are no good hospitals in Nigeria. It is because KHC is a partial healthcare, meaning that it is something that has to be managed even after the transplant. And it is the management that is key, and we can hear that from the doctor as well. And of course, because of confidentiality, a lot of people, big guys in Nigeria, when they go to hospital, they find that picture on social media. That's why a lot of them are trying to hide away from Nigerian hospital. That's it. Ekweremadu, the guy was aware of why he came to UK. The visa guy came with should head visa, and they can read.
I don't know what's wrong with your connection, but I'm finding it difficult to. Maybe you have to do a transplantation for your network. Maybe you can switch, because not all the network.
Can you hear me now?
It's breaking, and I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Try to wrap up quickly because it's difficult to hear you, but I really want to hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I said was that the guy Ekweremadu brought to UK, the guy was aware of what he is coming for because his visa was a healthcare visa. And I'm sure when he was the visa, he might have had some, conversation with him. And coming to the sentence, I think the judge was harsh because of the letter of Batonjo and Co. Don't take interference lightly. And coupled with the fact that Ekweremadu was seen as a politician in Nigeria, they thought, okay, is that what you do in your country? And the same thing you want to do here. And that's why the judge went for the higher sentence. What Ekweremadu can do is that if he agreed for deportation after the sentence, if you agree for deportation, we have the sentence for him, meaning that he starts happy and the rest in Nigeria. That is if he agreed to sign the deportation form. But the issue of asking for clemency, that is not possible. It is fresh. They cannot just do that. Except, of course, not in UK. It's very, very difficult. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Oh, you're speaking with a lot of authority there. Are you a lawyer? Do you reside in the UK?
Yes, I work within the prison service. So,
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your intervention. Is Durotimi available? It's a mic on because ours is on. I don't know if you're willing to intervene.
Yes, sir.
Oh, fantastic. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a great conversation so far, and I've really learned a lot from listening to the doctor in the building. But quickly, I want to really just speak about the whole organ harvesting saga. Well, I feel that this is a wonderful development. Trust me when I say that I speak on behalf of a lot of Nigerians when I say that we are absolutely happy about the events that have happened and the punishment that this individual is getting, right? Because it is very obvious that our politicians over the past few years, over the past years, have failed to not just build but maintain world standard hospitals in Nigeria, right? And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, they go abroad, giving all excuses for continued medical tourism by our elected officers, and people will say, oh, their privacy. That's not an excuse. It's not a crime to be sick. Everybody go. If you're sick, it's okay to be sick. Don't get sick, and it's not an excuse to say, oh, you want privacy. And if they are saying that they don't have privacy, that means they are trying to say our Nigerian doctors are not professional. So I think it is absolutely wrong for them to continue medical tourism across the world, and this is a wonderful development because finally karma has caught up with one of them. And I do hope that they will take lessons from this. And I do hope that this will also wake up Nigerian people to push for an absolute ban on medical tourism by our publicly elected public office holders, right? We need them to stop going abroad for medical treatments. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. God was not stupid when he said that. These people are our hospitals and our medical health care in Nigeria is never going to be world standard as far as our politicians are not using hospitals in Nigeria. It is very, very simple. Now, the second part of what I want to say is the court process. This is also a very it just excites me and a whole lot of other Nigerians because it was very swift and decisive. If it was Nigeria, what they would have done is elongate this court hearing in such a way that the public will have lost interest after 6 or 7 years, and at the end of the day, they just you know how they go around court cases in Nigeria. So this was an example of where the system works, where you can get this judgment is less than a year since he was arrested. I think it was around June, July he was arrested, and we got this judgment, and it is a wonderful happening, right? I did watch the daughter, the little interview that she did with the BBC, where she was saying that she wasn't a part of it. But the interviewer asked her that her parents were sending her pictures. There were chats where her parents were sending her, oh, this is the person, this is one person there was a little bit of communication as to the particular individual that would give her the kidney and stuff. So I think she was a part of it, but I feel like the UK government just pardoned her. But I think that we are very grateful to the UK government, and we do hope that this karma will hit many other of our Nigerian politicians very soon. Thank you very much.
Timmy Blaze, I don't know. It seems you're upset with, but this is the good thing about this space. You can speak your mind as long as you keep it civil and just speak your mind. The mic is always on. This show is for the independent mind. Do we have anyone who is weighing in on Twitter Spaces?
Okay, can I come on, please?
Fantastic.
Was very bad. I mean, very bad. With which I concluded in my mind that only God can help Nigeria to have a better health system that will people enough to stand the test of time. Because focus, resilience, and strengthening system. I'm talking about the government side. We have a lot of private organizations in Nigeria that could provide quality, service, touching kidney transplant and what have you for Ekweremadu. But beyond Ekweremadu. In this case, the experience I had with Federal Ministry of Health and Cities and Africa showed me that even the people, Nigerian people, do not want change. Do not want change. They want it to be because a lot of people are taking advantage of it. It's a long story. Currently, I'm in UK for my postgraduate. I'm going to UK next year. But the experience I have made me to run away. I must be sincere with you. We have a long way to go. I pray to the airport, and maybe a lot of technocrats can come into a Nigerian system to have a better health system so that we can deliver appropriately. Then, second thing about factors that lead to cancer and what have you. The other one I think maybe Dr. that I recall is taking food substances that are not well certified, not well analyzed, not well screened. And like issue of nodules and what have you, that have that eventually being that. There are quite a number of products like that we have in our country that by the privilege of my practice, got to identify a number of them. And we escalated it. Few there was response from government, few there was no response from government.
All right. Yeah.
No, that's just on my own
Yeah.
side.
Thank you so much. I guess you're a public health expert, isn't it?
Yes, I'm a public health science.
Yeah. I know you guys also go through a lot of work hazards. So I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for your intervention. Let me get one or two more people on the Twitter Spaces, and let's get their own view and their perspectives towards this matter. Who do we have next on Twitter Spaces? Who is willing to put on his mic or phone?
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So who is on now?
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Chief Martin, for the exposition and the public education as regards kidney diseases and all. But I just wanted to ask questions that some people in the public might probably be desiring to ask, because I've observed in the Nigerian medical community that oftentimes we go to the hospitals and they just say, I want to do medical checkup. I just want to check my body. And oftentimes you see people exploit innocent citizens by just doing that thing. I would just like you to specify for people, as many people that will be listening today and would desire to just have regular checkups and are concerned about kidney diseases. And also, on the issue of renal replacement therapy, I know that you work for a private hospital and you might not want to be doing some publicity or art, but I would just like you to give people an idea of institution where they can really have renal transplants in Nigeria. And the reason I'm saying this is most people are not aware of things, and they go to India, go to Turkey, go to some other countries. But if you know particular hospitals where you can get things done in Nigeria, that might help innocent average Nigerians. And to the legal side of things, I think things are evolving, and people like you that are transplant surgeons in Nigeria, I think that you will probably be doing the public a lot of good by helping to modify some of these things that we have, looking into the things that are happening around at the moment to effect a change, also modifications to the things that we have going on in Nigeria. And also to say there are questions that I just want people to know. And as we get inheritable conditions, renal conditions like the adult polycystic kidney diseases, where you have people in the past that have died of kidney diseases, how younger ones need to go to the hospital for regular checkups. I would also like you, Chief Martin, to just provide some exposition so that people in the public can understand these things. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right. Sonny King, thank you. Appreciate it. Please go ahead.
All right. Thanks for those questions, Sonny. I appreciate. So for the checkups, this is why I mentioned going to a good health facility. Because I mean, why would you want to exploit someone who has come for just a routine checkup? It should be encouraged. So basically, what we mean by routine checkup will be things like a full blood count, where we want to check your blood levels, ensure that they are all in at a normal level, the red blood cells, white cells, platelets. We want to check your kidney function test, which we call electrolyte, urea, and creatinine, to ensure that the kidneys are working well. We want to do a liver function test, ensure your liver is doing great. We want to do a urinalysis, just take a urine and subject it to dipsticks. This usually will suffice for blood and urine tests for most people. For men who are in the age group, other things will be peculiar to age groups. Men who are over the age of 45 to 50, you want to do what we call a PSA, what we call prostate-specific antigen. We use it for screening for prostate cancer, because in those age groups, you begin to have such cancers, coming on board. And for the general public, especially for those who have risk factors for colonic tumor from 40, 45 years old, they may need to see a gastroenterologist so that we look at stools for occult blood, and they may require colonoscopy. All right. For the imaging, we normally do general chest x-rays. Those who have hypertension and co may require more, like electrocardiography and echocardiograms, etc. And then ultrasounds. For, ultrasound is like a scan that we use in looking into the abdomen. Since you can't see the abdomen from the outside, it makes you just make sure that all the organs in the abdomen look good. Other things will now be directed. If there are any abnormalities in these things, they may need to now do more. But basically, if you have this done once a year, like I tell all my clients and all my patients, it's like, okay, bye-bye till next year, and you're good. For women, I'm sure you've heard about pap smears when we are checking for cervical cancer, which is one of the commonest cancers in women, especially women who are, sexually active. So these are all components of a proper checkup. So, and I don't see any reason why anybody should exploit, the common Nigerian. You asked about where kidney transplants can be done, in the country. So I'm aware that, kidney transplantation in Nigeria started in year 2000 in St. Nicholas Hospital in Lagos. And, to this date now, we have, close to 20 centers around the country where transplant can be done.
Is your own center especially for surgery like this?
Oh, yes, among other things. But it's one of the main things that we do.
So your Zenith Hospital is where in Abuja?
Sir?
Your hospital, your facility.
In Gudu, if you just type it on the Google map, it comes out straight up.
Straight up.
Yes, but there are many centers all around the country. So, but what I normally advise clients or patients is once you present yourself to a nephrology unit in your locality, be it in Lagos or Ondo, usually you have a nephrology unit when you're having any form of kidney disease. You see the nephrologist. Nephrologist is a physician who manages kidney diseases. They see you, they identify what you have, and they should give you their opinion on the options of care. So in most centers, there are likely to be facilities for dialysis, maybe not as many, but something to sustain the individual. Mm-hmm. And then what we expect is that your nephrologist will be able to refer you to the centers where transplantation can be done. Since we all have an association where everybody belongs, I believe that all the stakeholders in, kidney disease, know each other, and they know where their patients can go to get expert care. The problem comes in the fact that, sometimes some people, some medical experts, some may profit from patients going overseas. I think that's also a thing, whereby when they go overseas to have this care, there are some kickbacks from, the foreign places where they go. So what I think, to be able to continue to develop our place, we need to encourage, the people at home who are doing this, especially when they are doing good job with excellent outcomes. And also, as everybody has said, this is an eye-opener for, the government to continue to invest more in the health facilities at home. If we can do everything at home, then that limits the amount of foreign exchange that we spend overseas, and that can be, plowed back in the system. The last question was something about adult polycystic kidney disease. So the question from Sonny, I'm sure, he's a doctor, because the question is very specific. There are genetic conditions which run in families that can cause kidney failure. About 2 to 3% of patients who come with end-stage renal disease are actually as a result of these diseases. What he mentioned is what we call autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease. It means that the kidneys are replaced by cysts. They just look like bags of water. When you do a scan, it just looks like a sponge. The kidney looks like a sponge, exactly. So it's filled with cysts of water, and after some time, that kidney can no longer do its job. So it runs in families. All right. So I had a patient a couple of years ago, in his 60s, who came with kidney failure and wanted transplant. And we told him, because of this kind of condition that you have, this polycystic kidney disease you have, it's good that your family members also come around and we screen them and all that. And he's like, okay. So he's going to come with 2 of his sons. He hopes that they can donate to him. And the 2 of his sons had the same kind of kidney disease. I remember it was in my office, because it was, because he started crying, and he's like, oh, are they going to have, get sick just like me? And and they said no, and I had to tell him no, they are not likely to progress, like, especially the fact that it's picked early. Now that they are a lot younger, there are things we can do to stop them from progressing as rapidly to have their kidneys shut down. But this is just to what Sonny's question is there are conditions that run in families. All right. So when you see your physician with these kind of conditions, part of the things that we ask you while we are preparing you for treatment, dialysis, transplant, what have you, we also encourage that your family members come to the hospital for screening to identify if they have this kind of condition, which can progress to kidney failure in the future. So this is something that we do.
So one thing as we wrap up, is this: there are two kidneys. So if one shut down, the other one can sustain any human, isn't it?
Oh, so that depends on what is causing the shutdown. For instance, things like hypertension and diabetes, polycystic kidney disease, they affect the two kidneys at the same time.
Wow.
Right?
So those who have healthy kidney, they're the ones who can donate. They'll donate one, and one can last them for as long as...
For a lifetime, yes. So you are a healthy person has two functioning kidneys. Each kidney has about 4 times the capacity to sustain the body. So once we ensure that you're in perfect shape, your two kidneys are functioning and they are perfect, and you are willing to donate to your brother or your sister, we can go ahead, counsel exceptionally, because we have to counsel you to realize that, yes, you can donate your kidney. This is a major operation, but it can be done safely in the hands of the expert. There are chances of bleeding, there are chances of this and that, but, we can do this successfully.
Yeah.
After doing this, you're going to spend this amount of time with us, make sure that you're fine. You have to continue to see you once every year to ensure that you're good. These are the kind of things you may notice in the future.
Yeah.
You may develop some conditions when you get older, things like hypertension and diabetes. Because you don't have them now doesn't mean in 30 or 40 years' time you're not going to have them. So you have to continue to eat healthy. You can continue to exercise, take lots of water. You have to continue to see the doctor once every year. If you're not feeling well, ensure you don't go to the chemist to take drugs. See a doctor so that you don't take drugs that are going to damage your kidney. This is because when you have any issues in the future, and it relates to your kidney, you have, and your doctors didn't do the proper counseling to you, you have the right to say that, they didn't tell you all the things that were required. So this is exactly what one of the people were saying. There is also a long-term follow-up for these patients, so that's it.
Interesting. We'll wrap up. I'm coming to you, Anthony, in just a moment. Let me get to Dr. Henry. These are the days where boyfriends and girlfriends are serving themselves breakfast. Thank God that heartbreaks don't affect the kidney. Or does heartbreak affect the kidney?
I don't think so. I haven't come
does it even
across that
affect
yet.
the heart itself?
Yes.
Why do they call it heartbreak? Does it affect the heart?
It actually causes some kind of condition in the heart.
Really?
But yes, of course. Yes.
Those are serving breakfast.
If they've served you breakfast,
Come
you know
closer.
that your heart will beat faster at the initial time.
Oh.
You have palpitations, So it's a stressor. Yes, it's an emotional stressor, but we don't expect that to cause any kind of...
So we should not even be calling it breakfast. We should be calling it the name heartbreak. It actually breaks the heart. Cha. All right, Dr. Henry, as we wrap up now, interesting. It's been a long time I spoke about issues of health, and I'm really, I don't know, my heart has been beating faster than normal, and it's as if I should actually go do some checkups. Nothing is wrong with me, but when you see doctor around you talking about all of these issues, and you begin to feel that your organ is twitching and something is happening to your liver is going over your kidney and things are happening in your body. It's not a laughing matter though, because this Ekweremadu matter, there's a lot of lessons embedded in it. Your final thought, Dr. Henry.
Yes, thank you once again. There's actually an entity called broken heart syndrome. When people are bereaved or have some very adverse life events, can actually lead to some form of heart failure. Broken heart syndrome exists. So those having breakfast and dinner and lunch should beware. My emphasis will be on prevention, because it is easier, it is cheaper, it is safer. In our country, we have NAFDAC, but NAFDAC is not working at the optimal levels. We still have certain regulation of certain products still in our government territory. You still have a lot of people peddle certain herbal concoctions with unproven pure claims. Nobody's looking at them. You see some young ladies carrying all sorts of colored liquid in a tray on their head, going everywhere. people's livers, kidneys, and so on are being poisoned on daily basis. Something has not come up here, which is also a risk factor for kidney disease, which is bleaching. Bleaching is coming back. Unfortunately, it is surreptitiously sold to our women as skin toning. It is not skin toning,
So
it's bleaching.
I'm wondering what is attractive in light skin.
A lot of people like light skin. Shemu, ask your colleagues in journalism, they will tell you. They will tell you. Actually, when people bleach, actually, is it the hydroquinone? Is it the mercury in the cream or soap? It can lead to kidney failure. Also, hair dyes. See people dyeing their hair green, yellow, all sorts of things. Some of those things not just contain carcinogens, chemicals that cause cancer. Some of them are also metabolic poisons.
So when you talked about carcinogenic, effects.
No, those ones are causing cancer.
Okay, yeah, so fantastic. What about the microwave, the food? We microwave our food every other time. And I'm hearing that is also...
There's no straight yes, there's no straight no. Some people feel within the wavelength of the microwave or so is still safe. But I like things that have worked across all ages. Why will I go with microwave than the old age-long tested ways of warming food? Anyway, that's there. I'm coming to indiscriminate use of painkillers as little as paracetamol. Then to worsen it, here, once you have your money, you can buy any drug. The highest grade of antibiotics, people can just walk into a pharmacy and buy it without prescription. It's only some narcotic drugs, like diazepam, Valium, and some other things, tramadol, that are now being regulated. But those ones that really harm the kidney and harm the liver, those very strong ones that people who do all sorts of hard labor take easily. There's one popular brand that is in powder form, which I don't want to mention. Those ones affect people's kidney and fail them. Dr. Ibokwe, erudite health educator, has talked of this culture of not having medical checkup. It is terrible. Whereas people will spend the time to say, look, today I want to take my car to the mechanic. So tell the mechanic, please, when are you going to be less busy? Don't do any other thing. Please look at this, my car, from head to toe. So that because I'm going to put it on the road. People don't do that with health. People don't subject themselves to their doctors and say, please look at me from head to toe. Is there anything wrong with me? We are just saying once or twice a year. People don't do that until the things are bad. Then resourcing existing hospitals. These hospitals that don't have cotton wool, they don't have gloves, they don't have methylated spirit, they don't have even diesel or petrol to power their generators. What do you think can come out of such hospitals? We need to resource existing hospitals and build more. What has happened is a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It is not yet clear since there will be continuity. The president-elect belongs to the same party with the outgoing government. They can, because of what has happened, build a kidney center for Nigeria. One, at least to start with. One kidney center. That all these things being done in other places, I'm telling you to target like 1,000 transplants in a year. But we have to strengthen the laws. We have to make sure that nobody, especially the less privileged, the vulnerables, are not exploited. We have to strengthen those laws. Lifestyle. Go to parties, you will pity people. People put all sorts of things in their tummies because it's free food. We are talking of drinks, vodka, and so on. People mix all sorts. Go to supermarkets, go to shops, you will see all sorts of bitters. All sorts of things people are concocting, putting in bottles, and people are buying. It is not good. So development is a compact. It's not an initiative to, put siloed, little that you do. No, it has to be taken together. There has to be a consensus opinion. Executive, legislature, judiciary, to say, let us build our health system. we can say, let us start from what has happened to our beloved Senator Ekweremadu. To say never again would any Nigerian have any cause to go any outside unless that person deems fit to have, this type of medical intervention. It is very important. The Federal Ministry of Health will continue to call up. That role, which the first part of the National Health Act confers on them, which is coordination of the health system, they are not doing it. One of the listeners have asked, how many places, where can we have renal transplant done in Nigeria? It is the role of the Federal Ministry of Health to produce a sort of atlas. It can be a digital atlas where somebody can stay in the comfort of his office or bedroom, key in to say, nearest kidney transplant center nearest to me. We have options.
All right.
Federal Ministry of Health is not doing that function. Again, finally, the Abuja Declaration of 2001 said at least 15% of our national budget to health. This year, we are at 5.4%. Is this with this pace that will achieve the SDGs? So we need to work on.
All right. Thank you so much.
This rain does not need to beat us again.
Thank you. Now we're feeling so wet. The next time when the rain beats us, I'm not sure the effect it will have on us. Anthony, your final thoughts.
Well, I'd like to say that the contributions from the doctors are very important, and it goes to say in no little measure that we must look at our health care and make sure that it's affordable and that people, by virtue of being a Nigerian citizen, you are entitled to health care. Because Nigeria is not exactly a poor country. We're one of the top oil producers in the world. And with such blessings as a country, we're supposed to be able, every Nigerian is supposed to be able to, or entitled to adequate healthcare. And where they cannot afford it, government is supposed to step in. That's what government hospitals are there for. And this whole requirement, I think the biggest takeaway is the indictment on the Nigerian system. I think someone was going to the point that he was 12 years as Deputy Senate President. Mm-hmm. And perhaps if he had a keen heart for pursuing healthcare that is deemed as even just sufficient, not the best healthcare as we see outside, but just sufficient to take care of the average Nigerian, then would have said we've done well for Nigeria, because that's the reason. We have a very high level. I'm surprised that as a young doctor, I'm sure they pay him so well. He has not jackpot. There is a crisis right now where we have a serious issue of brain drain, especially after COVID, where the West lost a fair amount of its medical personnel due to COVID. So they are looking to reap from us. But how well have we treated our medical doctors? How well have we considered the issues? And let's make. I'm glad you in the media are focusing on this issue. But let's have good takeaways from it. What are we going to do about our healthcare in Nigeria? Why do we see the need to go abroad for certain things that we can provide, and we need to provide?
I hear what when Dr. Martin said, the number of this kind of transplantation that is being done every week is, you say about how many in a week?
In a month, 10 to 15 cases.
10 to 15 cases. And you have how many months in a year?
12.
12. So you have about
40, 150 cases per year.
Yeah, so, and it's not sufficient for 200.
No, I'm saying that it's rampant. It's not something that is.
It's not even
alien.
It's not even sufficient. It's not even. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
sufficient to cater. When you do this on an average, you find that we are grossly inadequate. And we look. We had a president who is leaving now, who had several health challenges, and one big quarrel I always had was year in, year out. Remember, I think on one of your on the other shows, I talked about the budget, how the State House clinic kept getting budget and it was never implemented. I mean, one thing I saw sometime this year was the relaunch of the State House clinic in a more grand I hope it is well equipped. I hope it is better staffed. I hope that they provide facilities that the public can use, because State House Clinic is also a public facility. And I hope that they can replicate this. It's something that happened, that one takeaway we never got from COVID. I remember when COVID started, China built a hospital in 100 days that could cater to this. And I was looking forward to, because there were a lot of moves by the Nigerian financial sector and all of that. I was hoping that we would see fallouts from COVID that saw a strengthening of our health system. That didn't happen. It's just further indictment.
So, politically speaking, Anthony, any light on the end of the tunnel, possibly?
Like
for the Ekweremadus?
Like I said, it's a dicey one. We keep them in our prayers, because again, you cannot take the big stick to the Ekweremadus because of the circumstances. I mean, we could have blamed him,
but
if
President
it was
Buhari attended the crowning of King Charles today, and I'm imagining, is it possible that he can put the word in? If that happens, if that doesn't happen, Bola Tinubu will be sworn in as president on the 29th of May. Do you think Bola Tinubu, for example, could put a word in? If he does, what weight will it carry?
How much work? You see, a diplomatic route of doing things means that you've established a long-term relationship, and this relationship counts for something. Do we even have a similar case? Because then you can have an exchange between governments where a British citizen has done something heinous, and the United Kingdom says, okay, we'll do
reciprocity.
we'll do a reciprocity trade. So those things are, but you see, it all lies in the hands of our diplomatic corps.
And whether or not, if the British have a policy that would not give in to that kind of thing, I hope not.
No, they certainly do have such exchanges. I mean, this usually and frequently happens with spies, where you have an exchange where they've committed. But this topic is very sensitive. It's
of public public interest,
so,
and it carries a lot of. It's popular. It's out there.
It has political.
The optics are there, and
it has political undertones as well. The government of the day would not necessarily want to go against public opinion. And looking at perception reading right now, it's not in the best interest of the British government to yield to any advances. But we would say all hope is not lost. I'm more concerned about Sonia and her well-being. The parents, they'll be all right. I'm sure they I mean, as a father and a mother, if I were in the shoes of Senator Ekweremadu, I would do the same thing for my daughter. If I had that, if I even knew I was going to go to prison and it would save her life, as a father, I would take that risk. I would do it. You know, there's no hard and fast. As a father, and when you get to that,
it's difficult to blame
to blame my father for taking.
Because I mean, when you are desperate like that, you could do anything. You could make misstep. You could make mistake. You may not be able to ask those critical questions. I mean, you look with the benefit of hindsight. People will say, "Oh, why didn't he do this? Why did he do that?"
But he could have handled the situation better, you know. And to be honest, I haven't looked at, but we're talking about it not having direct briefs about this issue. But on the surface of it and reading it, he could have better managed the young man because I think it was a long time after the hospital visit. The young man went himself into the police station. It wasn't so that the guy was not a viable thing. He should have let him go back to Nigeria, and that would have ended the whole matter. Or he would have settled the guy to probably start his life in the UK, since he was no longer willing to donate his kidney. But be that as it may, he did commit an offense.
Do you think that if President Buhari doesn't do anything politically and diplomatically, do you think possibly Bola Tinubu could?
Well, Senator Ekweremadu has been a player in this game for a very long time. So there's no way he hasn't made friends across the aisle. There's no way he's not friends with this guy. But you have to look at the possibility that it's going to be a tough one. It perhaps he may not get reprieve in the first, second year, but ongoing, if the diplomatic pressure, especially if the UK wants something from Nigeria, it considers as important as letting go of that, then those deals can be made. But what are we talking about? Again, we have to go back to who has the most that we must care about. Who is the sick person here?
Our life is on the.
So Sonia, for me, it's a bigger issue.
All right.
But I'm glad that people have. I mean, I heard that there have been calls for people to willingly this time around
donate
to her.
Okay.
I'm sure, and I pray that she gets that reprieve. But there are consequences for actions, and we asking for leniency is trying to subvert the British judicial system. We have to understand this. The British have built their system. You see, we keep talking about people committing offenses in Nigeria because they feel they are above the law, because they feel that they'll get away with it.
Yeah.
What you're seeing now is signaling. The British system is signaling to everybody across the world that you cannot come to our place and break our laws, no matter who you are. We'll send you to prison.
In the past, Nigerians have dared the British system. People have worn women dresses as corrupt and thieving.
They should have waited
politicians.
You see, they should have waited for the trial and seen whether the British system will do what it needs to do. There's nobody, and we have to take that lesson and bring it back here.
Yeah.
Right now, we're waiting for the judiciary to do its job on certain issues. We do hope they will take courage from what they have seen their colleagues do in delivering justice. You see,
due process.
A society can never make progress
if the system does not
if
work.
you do not have justice. You see, justice is a dial that keeps everybody in line. Once you do not have it, you become an archaic and barbaric society nobody wants to have any business with.
Dr. Martin, your final word. I mean, and I'd like you to touch on Sonia. I mean, what would you be telling Sonia tonight?
Yeah, it's quite an unfortunate situation. We've spoken a lot about it. Sonia will be most heartbroken, with the whole situation. But I believe strongly that being in the UK with the excellent facilities, she's going to be well managed, probably on hemodialysis for now until transplantation will be done. And just like we've heard that, there are lots of willing donors, to help out. My prayer is that in little or no time, she gets a successful kidney transplantation and she's back on her feet in good health, which is exactly what her parents have always wanted for her. So, and then my message to everyone listening is nobody's above sickness. Sometimes these illnesses come even when you have lived such a healthy and health-conscious life. So, but we must be aware that, prevention is better than cure, just like Dr. Henry said. So we must continue to do those things that keep us healthy, like our diet, exercise.
And not smoking shisha and cigarettes.
Avoiding smoking, avoiding,
alcohol
ingestion.
I hope that some guys will be listening now.
Yes. And going for annual checkups. I can assure you that even when there are terrible conditions, when they are picked early, early diagnosis saves lives. Thank you.
Wow, what a day. I mean, I wasn't expecting the outcome. I never expect the outcome in any of the interview or the conversations I had. I'm always hoping that these conversations will bring new perspective and new insight to us all. But thank you so much indeed, Dr. Martin Igbokwe, Mr. Anthony Ahileba, who is a lawyer who trained in the UK, giving us the perspective of how the UK legal system sees all of this issue. And of course, Dr. Erin Onwunanu, thank you so much indeed. It's good to speak with you again. Don't worry, you'll become the NMA president someday, and you'll come back to say I said it. Thank you so much indeed. Appreciate it. All right, to all of you who contributed, thank you so much. But I'm leaving this podcast better informed, and I hope you have picked a few lessons too. The lessons are as clear as the UK law on organ harvesting. We need to develop a health system where the rich and the not so rich can access quality health care. Another lesson from this novel case is that we need to know what is obtainable elsewhere. The legal framework, the medical procedure, the legality of your action. Some are also talking about image problem and the optics that we accompany this case. In other words, the Ekweremadus are not bearing the cross alone. In all, the case is a defining one and can also help Nigeria fine-tune some areas of our legal system. As for the Ekweremadus, the fate is in a far land and another jurisdiction. They too would have picked a lot lessons from this episode, I believe. Lessons for everyone. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. It's a wonderful conversation. So till next week, I'll see you again. It's Mike on Podcast for the Independent Mind, and I'm Sean Kimbale. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Mike on Podcast with Seun Okimbaloi. Mike on Podcast for the Independent Mind.